Well, newer is always better, and also not DNFing is always better. So even though I have a backlog of about 100 races from this year that I have not made videos for yet, we're just gonna skip to the one we just did this past weekend, and we're gonna talk about Creek Cross in Shorts Creek. First cyclocross race of the calendar for 2023. Not officially part of the mix schedule for the series, but it's the first one, and excited to be into the cross season. Road season did not go well for me. I don't know. A lot of DNFs. Just a lot of bad results. And so happy to do something different. Unfortunately, I was sick for the last 3 weeks or so, and also threw out my back about 2 weeks before this. So still really very much recovering from a couple of different things. So didn't have super high expectations for this race. It's only my second cyclocross race ever. This is the novice race. We got, I think, 11 people signed up for the novice race, plus there's 3 people in the beginners race, which raced at the same time but was an untimed part of the race. And so there's about 14 of us on the course. Jason, who's going to be racing the sport race later, is also in there, so maybe there's 15 people total on the course. Not sure if everyone showed up today, but let's just say that the novice race itself had 11 people in it, and this is the first time in 3 weeks that I felt like my legs were starting to get a little bit better. My heart rate was way off track for where my power was, so I knew that's going to be my limiting factor here. But again, no expectations. Just wanted to go in and see what I could do. Focus on the cyclocross specific features, so the bike handling, the dismounts, the remounts, and the start, and see what happened.
So this will be a 30-minute race. I will let you know when it's final lap. I'll try to give you some lap counts once I have those figured out. Other than that, any questions? Alrighty. So I'm going to give you a 30-second warning. Anytime after that 30-second warning, you're going to hear the whistle, and the whistle is your signal to go. False starts are not allowed. That disqualifies you.
I think the key thing that you can tell this is the novice race is you can see how far back a bunch of people are. You got about 5 people on the start line and a bunch of people way back. I think not realizing how important it is to be right at the front. So I was able to get a pretty good start. First position through all of these corners. Right behind me is a teammate, Sean. And so all I really need him to do now is just totally wipe out and just take the rest of the field out, and I'd be doing great. Just kidding. So again, I think this is the key is novice race. I'm not sure everyone understood that it's supposed to be a hard start. Again, people were off the line. And so there's a couple of guys who we're eventually going to be down to three people at the podium racing a good portion of the race alone, and a lot of those guys are having to work their butts off to catch up to me and work their way through. Again, and they had the power that had they known, they would have been next to me on the start line and should have been right on my tail from the beginning, saving a bunch of energy. So, again, novice race, I think that's to be expected. All right, so what we see coming up now is our mountain biker. I had made a joke earlier, kind of asking her, like, oh, who's on a mountain bike? Because the grass here is incredibly bumpy. Just and so just yell at him. Obviously, just joking, but I'd be like, okay, who's on it? Okay, you don't count for the podium because this is just one of those courses that we're gonna come up to the barriers here. There's only one set of barriers. There's no other time you got to get off your bike. And really being on a mountain bike to eat up some of the uneven ground really would be beneficial. But you're going to see he was not ready for this dismount at all. He totally unclips both. It comes to a dead stop. I smoke him in the elbow with my bike on accident. Didn't mean to, certainly, but, you know, he came to a dead stop. Wasn't ready for that. I flew by him. And, yeah, so I thought the mountain biker would probably do really well on this one. Again, one small hill, one dismount. So this really is a course that, for the novice races, you're allowed to ride any bike you want. The mountain bike would help. But I ended up getting back around him pretty quickly after he passed me, and wasn't an issue going forward. So now we're going through the wood chips. They weren't so bad. And then our one climb for the course. So, about a 15-second climb or something. And, I try not to push it too hard. Because I just can't. So real quick, so my power didn't work for that whole first straightaway, the first half of the course. I think my power meter just went to sleep while we were waiting to start. And then you can see my heart rate. It says it's at 113. That's just a lie. It is not. It eventually, maybe on the second or third lap, kicks back up to where it's supposed to be. It might be even later than that. But it was maxed out this whole time. Again, I'd been sick, and my heart rate was way higher than my power indicated it should have been. We just came around the start-finish line, so that's the loop that we have. So now I think we've kind of worked out a bit of who's here. I think we have the guy in like an Iowa jersey. Oh, there I fell. I think I disconnected for a second. All right, I just unclipped. Jason's there, and then we'll see Rob at the back. Handler, he is gonna be there too. So again, the three of us plus Jason, who's not actually in the race. I was thinking about this after the race. I was bitching a bunch about just how bumpy this grass was. I mean, it was awful. All of the grass was bumpy, and then this straightaway that we're going to be coming into in a second, you can kind of see the long northbound straightaway is, and bumpy's not even the right word for it. I mean, it has huge lumps in it. I think the GoPro stabilization is really doing a disservice to how uneven this grass was, and so I was bitching the whole time. And then after the race, I was thinking about this, and you've seen the loop now. There's not much to it. The wood chips, again, I didn't really play any sort of role. It's not like sand. The hill was not so bad. The nice off camber right after the hill. But just one set of barriers. There just wasn't much to the course. And so I think had the grass been really smooth, like some other parks, it would really have been a really boring race. And so after the fact, after my body was done being punished by it, I've come to appreciate the fact that it was bumpy. It gave the race a different characteristic, and so I won't complain anymore. I think it's fine. And you really, most of the bumpiness you don't notice after, or you didn't notice after like lap 2 or 3. You were redlining, and so it wasn't a big deal. The one straightaway, you never stopped for realizing it. So we just went through the barriers a second time. I practiced actually doing the dismounts and remounts this time before the first race, and I think it really showed. Last year, I was just awful. Coming to a dead stop and getting on, and it was not good. Here, I was really able to, on a run, jump on and go, and I think that really helped me. The guy behind me in the Iowa kit, he also was pretty good at the dismount remounts, and so while he's directly behind me, I didn't gain anything on him by being able to do the remounts quickly. But as you'll see later in this race, when Rob's right behind me, that's something that he has to do. Sort of, he's where I was last year, or really just probably 2 weeks ago, and having to stop and do it. And he has the power that had he been able to remount faster, I think he beats me probably handedly in this race. But and we'll get there here in a lap or two. You'll just see that he has to come to a dead stop to remount, and that's where I'm able to kind of pause, just coast for a little bit, get my heart rate down, so that I can keep going in this race. And then he had to work hard to catch back up to me. And had he been able to remount faster, you know, with a little bit of practice, certainly he will be able to. You know, he probably goes around me. I'm not able to rust at all, and I probably blow up a little bit faster. So, you know, happy that I practiced the remounts this year before the first race, because it definitely helped me in this one. Okay, we've jumped ahead about half a lap. Catch is coming through those barriers again, and I don't know how well it comes through in the sound of the video, but my cleats are pretty loose. You know, I loosened a little bit from gravel racing for cyclocross to be able to dismount, remount, and I think they're just a little too loose. Again, you can hear it for me. I can hear the rattling in the video at times, and certainly that helps with the dismount remounts. But you're going to see sort of the downside of that. So I think I need to retighten them a little bit. So we're coming back up to that hill now, and we have that really tight off camber. Well, tight for me, I don't know. I didn't watch the sport race, but they probably flew through all of this stuff that I struggled with. But so we're coming up to the top of the hill, and we're going to come back downhill. Have to scrub some speed here. And right there, I unclip on accident. You can see, you know, everyone else has to slam on their brakes. He runs with his bike instead of, you know, because it's a little bit uphill at that point. And so here it works out really great for me, right? When you're at the front, you cause a big slowdown behind you, and then you're able to get back on your bike better than everybody else can. Then I have this huge gap, but you know, in a future race, if I'm in third position, fourth position, if I'm struggling to stay on with the leaders and I unclip, right, I'm going to lose time, not gain time. Here, I gain time on people, but that's not going to be the case in future races. So I need to retighten the pedals just a little bit. Also, thank goodness that they slowed down, because once again, my heart rate. So I skipped ahead. My heart rate finally is aligned to what it really is and how I'm feeling. My max heart rate is 178, which I don't think I've even hit in a year and a half. So the fact that I'm at 166, I get to 170 here kind of regularly, I'm maxed out. So, you know, I cause a pile up. They have to work hard to catch back up to me. I'm able to work relatively easily, and that just keeps me alive, honestly, in this race. So here it helped, but long term, you know, I need to dial in how tight I have those pedals, because I unclip 3 times or so in these corners. And part of that might be just better feet positioning, and I'm twisting because I feel awkward doing the bike handling, and so maybe it's more just once you feel more comfortable bike handling, you're not twisting your feet, and then they stay in anyway. So that's probably fair too, but they probably could be a little tighter. So you know, they've caught back up, or at least I think they both have. I don't know if the third position's Jason or if it's Rob. But you can see that they're right back. But again, so Jason and Rob are both right there. So they had to work hard. I got to recover a bit.
Thank you.
And we're coming back downhill, back to the barriers again. Like I said, I was really surprised. I only did one cyclocross practice 2 weeks ago or so, but really just doing the dismount remounts 10, 20 times and having that practice really did help. I only had one of them. I don't know if we've already passed it or if it's coming, and maybe it was just the last one. There was quite a few people at the barriers on the other side, and I was trying to weave around them. And so when I went to jump on, I actually just jumped all the way to the other side of the bike and kind of had to re-jump from the right. And that one was not a great remount, but otherwise, all of them, able to take it a relative run, and I was really happy with the result. You can see again the guy in the Iowa kit, whose name I didn't get, so I apologize to him. He was able to really stay with me and do the remounts really well. Again, a couple of times where he had to work hard to catch back up, like the last lap when there was kind of that pile up.
Thank you.
you know, some strategically placed lapped riders to try to block me. Won't complain about that at all. I need to work on my shifting a little bit, shifting just before the turns instead of right after the turns. I think that would help a little bit. Because I think you could go into that. Coming out of that off camber, you could get up to speed a little bit faster if you shifted better. So we're just about halfway through the race now. And like I said, it's, you know, we have the podium here. I don't think there's, you know, there's nobody else with us other than Jason. And so now it's just trying to keep the pace hard. I think there's, I don't know if it's coming up on this lap. There's some times where it may, in fact, it's kind of, you can kind of see it right here. He wants to pass me, and here I have to, you know, I hammer back on, get to about 600 watts, and keep him behind me. So it was right here, this lap. So, you know, he's feeling good. He probably just got pissed that, you know, the lap before I had caused him to have to run with his bike and had to make up all that time. So he wants to get in front of me, and I'm playing defensively here, right? I'm going as hard as I can. Like, you know, again, my heart rate is more or less maxed out. I don't feel great, and I'm just gonna try to block people. Same thing on the hill. On the hill, I'm just going as fast as I have to keep people behind me. I don't want to go any harder than I have to. Just keep it for the final sprint. I think that was about the only time that he really tried to pass me. Here is this lap. This section was so hard to try to keep power down because you just hit these bumps, and then you kind of have to get off for a second, and then back up. You know, just, I don't know. Again, it's very bumpy. This is the hyper smooth on GoPro really gives a disservice to how bumpy this section was. You know, but able to create a gap here again pretty consistently. Able to create a gap so that I could find time to rest. I think this is the one where I could not clip in. So you can see I have just no power here. You can kind of hear my pedal, my foot kind of fussling around. So this one, I think I could have kept the gap for a little bit longer, because I created a gap coming out of that long straightaway and before the barriers, and I just could not get my foot clipped in. These are brand new shoes. My other ones had gotten damaged in a crash, and so I had just bought these, and the clip placement was not the cleat placement was not quite where I wanted it to be. It's a little further back compared to my other shoes, and I just had trouble getting in, and this one I had a lot of trouble, which allowed them to get right back. I'm sure they would have gotten back anyway, but made it easier than it needed to be. Coming back through the start-finish line once again. You know, some of these spots, I don't know how I quite created a gap, right? The Iowa guy was right on my wheel coming downhill. I didn't really push very hard, and he dropped back quite a bit. That's surprising. Didn't notice that before. So here I have a huge gap. Again, yeah, if I wasn't dying, this is just where you go, oh, Andrew's just gonna run away with this race, and all of a sudden, no, they're back. So I don't know. You know, between the not being able to bike handle very well through these tight corners, and maybe just not pushing anywhere near as hard as I should be, or should be able to, it just seems like I have this gap that just disappears over and over again throughout this race. You hear that rattling? I think that's just my shoes in the cleats. Shoes in the pedals? The cleats in the pedals? I don't know. Either way, we're still racing. So we got about 10 minutes left in the race, and you're going to see the guy in the Iowa kit. He's going to start to fade. And really, for the first time in this race, you're going to see Rob take the lead over him. He's going to go around him right about here somewhere, and you just continue to see him fade. So again, between the start and that jam up where everyone had to stop and then catch back up to me, probably had to expel a lot of energy, and just not able to keep up at this point, and he starts to drop back. But Rob then comes right on my wheel, and now it's going to be a two-man race for the gold. And here, this is good. So the difference, right, between Rob and the Iowa guy. The Iowa guy was really good at those remounts. He was able to keep up pretty well there. Rob, you'll see it here. I think probably the first good one where you're going to be able to see that he has to, come to a complete stop, put his leg over, and then go. Again, some practice there, and he's going to be right on my wheel throughout the whole race and probably passing me. But here you can see I'm doing no pedaling. I'm able to recover, and I needed it because again I was redlining, so able to go pretty easy. I actually think, okay, to be fair, I think my power meter went to sleep again. I don't think I coasted that entire thing. I don't know, maybe it did. I wasn't paying attention. But here, again, I create a huge gap, but between that stretch of recovering and here, I'm just not trying to push outrageously hard. He's able to get back on my wheel every single time. So I'm really just doing enough I'm kind of looking a little bit back behind me. As soon as I see a wheel right next to me, I kind of hit it a little harder and make sure I keep first position. So able to get through that. I'm going to come down here again, recover. A little bit of a gap there, but he'll catch back up because I'm recovering.
Working on it.
So what you hear there, I think this is the second to last lap, or maybe it's three. This is 3 to go. But Rob asked, "Hey, how many? What's the lap count?" So we saw no lap count throughout the entire race, and so he asked, and the lady working the start finish line said, "We're working on it." And we know we're 22 minutes into the race, maybe somewhere around there, and to not know and to still be working on how many laps to go was a little terrifying. And so you hear me go, "We're working on it." Like, come on. I don't know. I'm not gonna complain. So, a race that just got organized maybe a month ago or so, not part of the mix series, like I said, but beginner friendly race, totally new race, new promoters. I'm so happy that they did it. So again, I'm not. Yeah, there's gonna be some kinks. There's gonna be maybe some issues, but I'm so happy. The more races, the better. So a little incredulous during the moment, but it is what it is. The race finished at around 30 minutes, just like it was supposed to. But I can imagine if you're the second. The second place guy, you want to know how many laps to go. Should I do an attack? How long until I need to be in the front? You want to know these things. So it would have been nice to have a countdown from 3, 2, 1. Instead, on this lap we're working on it.
Rider back.
it really is just crazy that Rob just was able to continuously get back on my wheel. Again, he just has a ton of power. But, you know, I had a gap going into the barriers. I have an even bigger gap coming out of the barriers. I can't even see him in the rear camera right now. You can just hear my my hub just freewheeling. I was dead. And like, again, just a huge gap like that, this close to the end of the race, I should be increasing the gap and just hammering it. But, you know, time and time again, he gets right back on my wheel. Again, I mean, yeah, certainly I was dead. I was redlining, but again, just great effort by him just to overcome sort of, you know, the lack of cyclocross experience and sort of the technical ability to do like the remounts and dismounts, but just back on my wheel over and over again. Just really impressive. Because there he is, right? Couldn't even see him in the camera, then all of a sudden he's a foot from my wheel.
What's the lap count?
And there we go. Okay, so I yelled for it, and that's when they rang the bell and told us, okay, it's this is the last lap.
Back.
So final lap. Here I'm gonna push the pace a little bit more than I had in previous ones. Try to keep a little bit of a gap, but I'm pretty dead. So 170 beats per minute. I'm not going to be able to do much more than I had in previous laps, but I'm trying to keep the power up. Rattle, rattle, rattle. Okay, you can just hear so much rattling on my bike. It's just so bumpy. Alright, so we're going into that final northbound stretch. Rob's right on my wheel. So, you know, certainly trying to increase the pace didn't do much here for me. You know, all I was looking for here is, okay, is he going to try to get out in front of me? You know, knowing I can get an advantage at the barriers, maybe he tries to get in front of me to block me being able to pass him at the barriers, but, you know, nothing like that happened. Able to get on this downhill before the barriers. Here I'm feeling really good. Yeah, again, if I felt really good, you know, physically, I would take this gap and just absolutely hammer it past the barriers, but there's no chance of me doing that. I was so dead. So, get over the barriers cleanly. Just wanted to make sure, you know, last time on the barriers that we don't mess anything up, don't fall down. You know, I'm worried about that last off camber sliding out or something right before the final sprint. But here we are, right? Coming downhill before the last climb. Big gap again. But just coasting. Again, I just had nothing in my legs, or really nothing in my heart, just, you know, cardiovascularly, to be able to push harder than I was. But coming through the wood chips, got a rider here, able to get around that rider without having to slow down, which is good. Last time up the climb, good sized gap, but Rob's gonna shut the gap down pretty quickly here by the top. You know, he's right there. Got to slow down for this off camber, and now just try to get back on. Not quite able to hit the gas like I wanted to, but now we're in the final sprint. Going downhill, good sized gap, but honestly, I'm looking back behind me. I just want to do just enough to win. I was so dead. This is a pathetic sprint, to be honest, but able to come here and again, just doing just enough to edge out the win. So took first,
We're done.
and it was awful. It was just awful, but it was a ton of fun. So first cyclocross race, we're back. First win of the entire year, entire road season. Didn't get on the podium a single time. Spoiler alert for all the terrible videos that I'm going to be posting hopefully over the next month. But just not a great season for me. But first race, cyclocross, get the win. Had a great time. That certainly felt comfortable with the more cyclocross technical aspects, and happy I came out. You know, and a good sized race. You know, 11 people. It wasn't marketed hugely, but you know, good sized novice race, and yeah, it was awesome. So thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.
Yeah.